Mr. Speaker, again, it's an honor to stand with my friend Mr. Guthrie in bipartisan support for this legislation, which again makes some important changes to the existing law for the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as my friend said, a program which was created in 1984 and sadly has not finished its mission. Again, the FBI reports every year that there are roughly about 460,000 reports of missing children. And despite the best efforts of programs which NCMEC has operated over the many years, which include hotlines and public information campaigns, again, this is still a scourge which afflicts many families all across the country in Republican, Democrat, rural, suburban, and urban areas. Again, this bill will basically update and modernize the language of the Act to recognize that there are new forms of threats and risks to minor children, such as human trafficking and online predators. So it does three essential things. Number one, it incorporates new terminology to align the law with these new threats, which I mentioned above, and strengthens protections for children at risk. Number two, it clarifies that NCMEC is a nonprofit entity, which is an issue that has been ensnared in the courts. And again, Congress's enactment of this and passage of this bill and enactment will clarify this critical issue. And lastly, it clarifies that NCMEC is a resource that provides technical assistance not just to law enforcement, but to families, community groups, schools, and the public at large. Mr. Speaker, this last aspect of the bill is critically important. Last year, Congress passed Public Act 114-184, which President Obama signed into law, the Recovering Missing Children's Act, is a measure which I co-sponsored with Mr. Paulson from Minnesota. And this bill actually gave state and local police another tool in terms of recovering missing children. Incredibly, the tax code prevented state and local law enforcement to getting access to tax returns from adults who actually had abducted children. So incredibly, those adults were claiming these children who were in their custody, illegal custody, as a tax credit and a tax exemption. But state and local officials were, again, barred by privacy provisions in the IRS code from actually accessing that information. So on the one hand, you had one arm of government out looking for children, and we had another arm of government who knew exactly where they were based on the tax returns which were filed. Again, NCMEC is in the process of trying to disseminate this new tool, which, again, an audit of the IRS demonstrated that there are roughly about 2,000 tax returns a year where, again, adult individuals are actually claiming children as a tax deduction and obviously with their residence and identity included. So, again, that just is another example of why we update and modernize the law. I would just indicate on a personal level, my wife Audrey is a pediatric nurse practitioner. She works at the Children's Medical Center in Hartford, Connecticut. She is involved in the programs, a specialty clinic that helps children of sex abuse and human trafficking. And she said NCMEC is a frequent flyer in their office. They constantly, in that really important work that she does and her colleagues, use NCMEC, again, as a way of trying to assist law enforcement in terms of helping children who, again, are in these situations of human trafficking and have been victims of, again, online use of images, which, again, is about as low depraved activity as that's out there right now. So, again, the work of this center, I can attest to from a personal level, is extremely important. This legislation, again, will update, modernize, and give tools to make sure that all of the good guys out there, the local state police, the folks in the healthcare sector can really do everything they can to help families in this really terrible, horrific situation. So again, I want to applaud my colleague from Kentucky for his great work, as well as Chairman Fox and Ranking Member Scott for bringing this legislation forward. It passed unanimously in committee, and I would strongly urge all my colleagues in the House